HollowNet on Lanterns Media Network. The millennial conservative resistance begins here.
Hey everybody, Matt Holloway here. You're watching the HollowNet live on Facebook. Want to hop on today and give you guys a couple of quick updates on the HollowNet and the launch of our podcast coming up. First things first, unfortunately we did not get to launch the HollowNet podcast last night as I was hoping. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to re-record most of the show, and we're shooting for a release next Thursday. So expect that next Thursday evening. We will be releasing the HollowNet podcast on Lanterns Media Network. That will be on lanterns.buzz. You can also listen on the Spreaker application and on Podcast Addicts. I'll also be sharing links to the podcast here on Facebook, also on Twitter, LinkedIn, etc., so on and so forth. So let's get to the good stuff really fast. So I was watching the inauguration today, watched the whole thing end to end, and I have to say I found President Trump's speech to be both hopeful and forward-looking, but I noticed some of the blowback that's already coming in from a lot of the mainstream media on the left. And one thing that struck me as staggering was accusations that the America First policy is anti-Semitic due to a group in the 1930s, which also referred to themselves as America First, who were essentially pacifists, who believed that the Holocaust was not happening. They were Holocaust deniers, and that as a result, President Trump should back away from or apologize from his America First policy. Now, I find this very, very curious, extremely curious, that the left would decide to launch an anti-Semitic accusation against President Trump when this is the first president we've had that shows a solid intent and a likely follow-through to transition the United States Embassy in Israel to Jerusalem, where our appointed ambassador, I don't know if he's been confirmed yet, but our appointed ambassador to Israel has also voiced his approval and urging to move the United States Embassy out to the capital of Israel, Jerusalem. So there's a thought. Anti-Semitic president, biggest supporter of Israel we've probably had since George W. Bush. I really don't know what straws they're reaching at here. Now, the other thing that I was watching, and if you've been paying attention to the HollowNet on Facebook, I've been watching very carefully the demonstrations and rioting that were occurring in Washington, D.C., roundabout K Street and 13th. There was some awesome reporting there by Doc Thompson on the blaze. There was also really solid reporting on Fox after the blaze lost signal. I hope Doc's okay. I didn't hear back from him after that, but, I'm praying for him, hoping that everything worked out well. But this brings me back to the inaugurations of President Barack Obama and how bummed out everyone on the right was, how concerned about the direction of the country. We didn't take to the streets. So I want to reach out to our brothers and sisters on the left who feel so disenfranchised by President Trump's election that they felt it necessary to chuck garbage cans through the window of a Starbucks, light a limo on fire, light several garbage cans in the middle of K Street on fire, throw rocks at police, landing 3 of those officers in the hospital, get 100 protesters arrested, not to mention how many people were sickened or potentially given respiratory distress through tear gas and mace and the flashbangs that were going off. Because I don't know if you ever heard a flashbang. They're loud. They hurt. So I wouldn't recommend that for anybody. But we need to reach out to these people. We need to draw them in. We need to engage them in a common political discourse. The worst thing we can do right now, and I know it's the easiest, and I know it would feel great, and we all want to, the worst thing we can do right now is push them away and ridicule them for going out and protesting. Can we disagree with their violent acts? Absolutely. The people who perpetrated those violent acts, should be arrested. I hope they were arrested. And they need to pay for their crime. The people that were out there protesting peacefully, we need to embrace, and we need to discuss, and we need to bring them to the table to openly discuss these grievances, because their arguments should stand upon their own merits and be judged thusly. We can't have it where people feel the only way they can be heard is if they stop traffic in downtown DC for hours, interrupt what should have been a beautiful celebration of the traditional transition of power in this country and the beauty of our Federalist Republic, where every 4 years we undergo a revolution that is peaceful. And today it was marred by these actions. But instead of pushing them away, we need to engage them. We need to bring them in. We need to talk. We need to encourage discussion, encourage open political discourse. Because as I've said before, if we're not the bigger, if we are not gracious in our acquisition of the government, if we push them down, then we are no better. And we are no greater. And in fact, we will all be lesser for it. So, on that note, next Thursday, folks, telling you, going to have that podcast online next Thursday, lanterns.buzz. Listen on Spreaker. You can listen on Podcast Addict. And, sorry, I've got the radio in my ear. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being patient with me. Here we hold our line against the night, and the millennial conservative resistance begins right here, right now, with you. God bless, and God bless America.